Welcome everyone to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's up, everyone?
We had two tremendous cards this weekend, both going head to head. You had Ryan Bader versus King Mo for Bellator, and you had UFC 224 Amanda Nunes versus Rachel Pennington. Phenomenal cards. Everybody put up on both federations. Yeah. Well, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with
Bellator.
Let's start with Bellator. The first fight was let me just give you the highlights because I'm not breaking down no Bellator. John Fitch pulled Paul Daly. Tremendous win for John Fitch. Yeah. He pulls off a victory like he normally does with every other fight. He grinds you out and takes the fight in unanimous decision. The second one, which you and I actually ended up calling out the week before, was because we wanted to take shots. We're like, just the main event, right? It turned out that King Mo got knocked out with like 13 or 15 seconds in the first round by Ryan Bader, which I called out that he will get knocked out in the first round.
Did I have King Mo in that?
You had King Mo winning. Yeah, you had King Mo winning. But
did I fucking have King Mo out of all people winning? Well, not necessarily that was a bad thing. I'll take that.
So that's the first shot we're gonna get started with, and then once you take that shot, we'll start to break down UFC 224. Alright, we good? Okay. UFC 224. To start off the card, we had Vitor Belfort versus Lyoto Machida.
Phenomenal card, bro. This card was so good. It started off with legends, and it worked its way into what the future is holding. Women's MMA.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get back to the card. Vitor Belfort versus Lyoto Machida. We both ended up picking Lyoto Machida. We pretty much called it out the way it went, right? So, Vitor Belfort being the older fighter, you know, his reflexes are not the same as they used to be when he was younger. Gets KO'd in the first round with a front kick right to the face. Very similar what he did to Randy Couture, he did it to Vitor Belfort this time around.
Or what Anderson Silva did to Vitor Belfort.
Right, so this is
very
the second
similar
time he gets caught. It's interesting, that's right. It's interesting you mentioned that because you know Lyoto Machida and Anderson Silva tend to train here and there, and I wonder if they were looking at the same video saying he's still exposing that middle, why doesn't nobody get the middle, and you knock them out, you know?
And then with that being said, Lyoto did his homework for this fight, man.
Yeah, he did.
He did his homework for this fight. Vitor Belfort, even though he's not at the prime of his career, it's actually on the downside, he's still a huge threat to be in there with.
Yeah.
He still has knockout power. He's still very agile for somebody his age. And even though his endurance wasn't there, it was for this fight, or at least it seemed like it was for this fight. This was a great card where they both stand up. Lyoto gives you the space for you to breathe a bit. And this was supposed, I've had this going into the later rounds. I did not expect for it to end the way it ended, to be quite honest with you. But man, fucking kudos to Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you needed to win this fight, which he desperately needed a victory, the way he did it is now, oh shit, I'm going to have to fight Machida now?
Yeah.
Now Machida can start talking about the top three. He called out Michael Bingsby. I think that's a phenomenal card for both fighters. And this could be a way to get Machida back on that track.
I agree with you. Let's not hype it up too much. He did beat Vitor Belfort, who's on his downside of his career. I don't know about, as far as Bisping, I think it's a great fight. I don't want to hype it up to bring him back into this triangle you're talking about, because most likely, you know, the top 4 or 5 ranked fighters in that middleweight division are most likely going to beat him. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, my point to you is, if they were to give him Michael Bingsby, and he ended up beating Bingsby, then it's like, oh, hopefully we get some momentum going in for him. You know?
I can see that. But yeah, so nobody's taking shots. We both picked Lyoto Machida to win, and he won. The next one was Brian Keller versus John Lineker. This is another fight you and I happened to pick the same fighter. We said John Lineker is gonna win. His last performance have been amazing. Kudos to Brian Keller. He did a tremendous job in this fight.
Fucking took bombs.
He took bombs, and second round, John Lineker came with the
Was
left.
it second or third?
Was it?
Chris, do me a favor. UFC 224, John Lineker. Find out what round was it that he knocked him out. And the reason why I say that is to say this. John Lineker I don't know where this motherfucker gets endurance from.
Yo.
How many bombs can you throw in one fight and still be throwing bombs the way he did?
Yeah.
I called, they're fighting in Brazil.
Third round.
At West.
Okay.
Booyah. And to prove my point was,
Yeah.
round 1 he threw bombs, and I'm talking about bombs.
Haymakers. And you know, some of them landed, which his accuracy is not as...
No, it's not that his accuracy wasn't necessarily that great. It's the fact that Keller has a fucking chin on him, bro.
Yeah, I never said. I said his accuracy seems well, like very good.
I thought you were criticizing it.
No, the complete opposite.
So the reason my point to you saying that it happened in the third round is because he did that shit in round 1,
Yep.
bombs, round 2, a bunch of bombs, and then he finally caught him, and in the most awkward way. It was actually really clean punch down the middle, whereas the punches that were going, the over right hands that he was actually hitting him with, weren't really affecting him for some reason.
Well, he had him already rocked at this point, and he threw that overhand left that landed right in the button. He kind of fell towards the cage, and the fight was cold. Tremendous fight by John Lineker. This is a huge win. He gets back into that title contention, and I'm looking forward to seeing this guy take the title. I really am, and I hope he does. Yeah, I think John Lineker has the capabilities of knocking any opponent out. Brian Keller just had a tremendous chin. Anybody else would have gotten knocked out with that punch.
Hands down, I couldn't agree more. Which was what makes him so deadly. But he's gonna also fight a different type of fighter next time, hopefully. And just to call something out, I'm calling steroids on this guy, bro. Calling John Lineker on steroids. No one could throw that many bombs in a fucking fight and still have the endurance that he had after the fight. I'm not saying, listen,
That's like
it's a toss-up.
It's a bull claim.
They're in Brazil. I'm calling steroids on this dude.
Okay.
Check him up. The next 5 days, we'll figure something out.
The next one, John Lineker, we picked John Lineker in last fight. The next one was Amanda Cooper versus Mackenzie Dern. Now, the sad thing about this fight was that Mackenzie Dern comes into this fight 7 pounds overweight.
That's so unheard of.
That is really bad. I mean, that's so unprofessional. Now, that is the bad part. I would say the good part, because Mackenzie Dern is the next champion in her weight class. She's a tremendous fighter. She could take you down and submit you, and we saw how good her hands were this time around. The evolution of this girl is happening right in front of our eyes. Every fight she seems to get better. This is her third win in the UFC. I could see her taking a lot more victories coming up. Tremendous fight. By the way, we both picked Mackenzie Dern, so nobody's taking each other on this one either.
So I just want to put my input on this. I think it was so fucking disrespectful, not only to her opponent, not only to the federation of the UFC, but the sport itself. For the UFC to allow her to go in there 7 pounds overweight and still allow her to fight.
But could we say that Amanda Cooper did not care?
No, I know, but dude, that's
could
still.
We say that?
But you have, so 7 pounds is a lot.
Sanction? Why did the UFC sanction this fight?
Yeah.
Because she was 7 pounds over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why would the UFC allow somebody who is seven fucking pounds overweight? Yeah. She didn't have. Listen, it was a tactic that her coaches, according to a couple of MMA sources, which I won't call no specific names, they mentioned that this was a strategy going into the fight. The strategy was that she wanted to be the bigger person. She went in there overweight. It was actually a strategized thing for her to be overweight by that amount of pounds, because she needed to be the bigger person for this fight. And it happened.
That sounds crazy. So you're telling me you need to go we gotta look into those sources, because that shit makes no sense to me.
What doesn't make sense?
What? Okay, do you have to be so you're forfeiting some of your paycheck just because you need to be the bigger person in that fight?
Believe it or not, some people don't necessarily need the money, bro. Some people are there to become champions.
So you really...
I think, Willie, it's one thing.
I've never heard. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to be specific?
Yeah.
Dominic Cruz said it. He called it out. He said this was a strategy by by the coaching staff. 7 fucking pounds overweight, bro. It's one thing if she missed weight by 2.5 pounds. You go, shit, that sucks. They're gonna take 30% of her purse. You come in 7 pounds overweight. You fucking were eating donuts all day. You don't give a shit about taking this fight.
I would have to agree. I think
it's
very
exaggerating.
Very similar to what used to happen to Khabib Nurmagomedov, who would come in, he missed weight a couple of times, and then he got into a new nutrition, and now he's been hitting weight with no problems. He seems better than ever now. I believe that was the same reason with Mackenzie Dern.
7 pounds, Willie. Not 7 pounds.
I agree. 7 pounds is a lot, and I agree with you even more when you say that they should have never sanctioned this fight, because technically 7 pounds, if somebody misses the weight for 7 pounds, a lot of people get cut. A lot of people could get cut, because we're not talking about 3 pounds. People already shitting on you with 3 pounds.
Yeah.
And this is just going under the rug, what pisses me off. 7 pounds is ridiculous.
My point exactly.
But with that being said as well, she's an amazing fighter. I hate the fact. So what's going to happen in the next fight? What happens if she wants to be bigger or bigger than the next opponent? She's going to start missing weight.
No, I mean, but this is a perfect example for UFC to start disciplining these fighters, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they do by forfeiting some of your
30%. 30% of your check goes directly to the other fighter. I get that, and I respect that. I think that's a great thing. I think that's when you start fucking with people's money, people start thinking twice about their weight. Obviously, fucking going over 7 pounds, money was not necessarily an issue, and that's what I'm getting at. And at first I said, I thought to myself, shit. Maybe this is done on purpose. For whatever reason, I don't know. I just said this is done on purpose. No one just comes in 7 pounds overweight, and I don't want to talk about this all day. But then someone like Dominic Cruz at that level and that IQ of MMA says that, and now so my point to you is, if I would have said that, and you would be like, oh no, you're crazy, but not the fuck that I'm saying Dominic Cruz, you're like, oh shit, maybe he's right, cocksucker.
Yeah, because that would have been a stupid opinion.
It's not a stupid. It's obviously not. I mean, it's a legit thing to say.
Now more than ever, I wonder if the UFC was okay with it going into it, like they knew already. They didn't make a big fuss. And when I first heard the news, I said to myself, "That's bullshit." I'm like, "Oh, people are talking shit."
I'm curious. This is why when I talk about John Lineker being on steroids, and you look at me like I'm crazy.
You're fucking crazy, bro.
They're in Brazil.
Next, yeah, you're completely right. They were fighting in Brazil, and both of those fighters, well, not both, just Mackenzie Dern, because you keep on acting like Lineker's definitely on steroids. But anyways, the next fight was Kelvin Gastelum versus Ronaldo Jacare Sousa. This was a fight that I was dying to see, because last podcast I spoke about how hype I am with this guy Kevin Gastelum. I believe that Kevin Gastelum will be the next champion.
Wow, really?
Yeah, man. There's something about this kid. He doesn't stop coming at you. Look at he took a beating from freaking Jacare and never stopped. He kept it going.
I will say Jacare wasn't himself for this fight. Just so I can take this shot real fast. I lost. Excuse me. I picked Sosa. You pick Gastelum.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gastelum ended up winning.
Go ahead. Take a shot.
I know.
Jacare just kept coming after him. He was just jab, move. Went in. He did take a couple of shots. He took a lot of actual shots, but the guy is relentless. And I spoke about how he reminds me of Cain Velasquez, and you told me I'm crazy. The guy is relentless. He doesn't start coming at you, man.
So kudos to what you said. At least I'm giving credit where credit is due, you know. So I will say this much, man. The reason why I like what you said that is because not only is he so relentless and is accurate with his fucking punches, by the way, and beating someone like Sosa, that just fucking skyrocketed you. Now you're gonna fight I'm not to say that, because granted I had said to Sosa, I think Sosa should be the champion in that weight class. He's taken some losses, but it's coming off injuries and stuff like that. I don't think Sosa was 100% for that fight. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, because I've seen.
I think Jacare was giving it all he had. No. He just did not catch him.
Dude, let's talk. No. Let's talk about something real fast. Let's start a good conversation here. Second round, Sosa could not even breathe from his nose. He was breathing from his mouth the whole of the second round.
Oh no, that's a very good point.
So now I question two things. I really question his endurance for this fight, how he trained for going into this fight. I didn't see him as the old Sosa. I just didn't. I'm such a huge fan of this guy. I've been saying that he should be he should be the champion in that weight class. And the fact that he came in, he just didn't look like himself. That's my personal opinion. And then second round, completely gassed. Could it be that he's never fought in Brazil before? Mm-hmm. And this is the first time coming into Brazil, and really the pressure and the nerves got to him? Is that why he gassed out? Is that what the cheers was
I don't
too
believe
much?
it. No, we're talking about a complete professional who's been doing this for so many years in Brazil. He's fought in Brazil before.
Not in the UFC, though.
We're in the UFC.
No. First time fighting. This is what I was just saying. Obviously, you're not paying attention. First time fighting in the UFC in Brazil. This is the first time Sosa fights in Brazil with the UFC. With those many cameras, with those many people, this is not. I don't know where he used to fight before, but this is a fucking big deal, bro. It's a big deal. You're fighting in front of your hometown.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right in the sense that so it is his first time of fighting in Brazil, but I just feel like you could put any of the top fighters in their hometown and they excel. I don't remember. Can you remember somebody that didn't excel in their hometown?
Listen.
It's just so hard to believe that Jacare would do that would affect him as much. I do agree. I completely kind of blanked out on that fight, but you're completely right. He was losing. He was opening his mouth. He was breathing heavy by the second round.
Too early.
Something was wrong. Something was wrong. There must have been an injury that stopped him from training his endurance, and all this could come into play. Who knows? Not the same Ronaldo that I used to seeing, but let's not take anything away from Kelvin Gastelum. He came in and he delivered like a champion should.
And the crazy thing about Gastelum, real fast, just to throw it out there, Gastelum has pretty much the same style of fighting for every single fight. Yeah. And he's wearing these people out. Yeah. The fact that they haven't found a solution for this guy, and the fact that Sosa tried to take him down, was successful one time, but wasn't successful completely throughout the fight, shows that his stand-up game and how firm he is to the ground is legit.
Yeah, good. I would have to agree with you. Anyways, so you ended up taking the shot. Now, the last but not least, Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. This was a fight that we had Nunes. We both had Nunes winning this fight.
Rachel didn't stand a chance.
I don't think Raquel ended up having a chance because Raquel's known for her grind. Raquel's known for some takedowns, but her hand game has been much better his last few fights. So I think we spoke about this in the last podcast, how we felt like it was going to be a stand-up fight. It's almost impossible to take Amanda Nunes down. And Amanda Nunes threw a clinic at her. Started with the leg kicks in the first and second round. She could barely put weight on that leg.
That leg looked disgusting,
it looked
bro.
Crazy.
Fucking fried pork chop.
And before you know it, come fifth round, KOs her, completely knocks her out, and amazing performance by Amanda Nunes. I'm looking forward to seeing her fight against Chris Cyborg.
There is no other fight. No, let's just keep it clear. There is no other fight. Chris Cyborg needs to fight Nunes. Not only does Chris Cyborg have nobody else left to fight, she really doesn't, bro. Yeah. The only fight I would like to see is Ronda Rousey coming out of retirement and fucking fighting Chris Cyborg. Yeah. I'm joking, but you'll tune in, right? You'll tune in. But this is the fight to make. Nunes should fight Chris Cyborg. There is no other fight to make, and there's amazing fighters that could still do it. I say give Shevchenko versus Raquel Pennington. Give Pennington some long layoff, by the way. Yeah. And because she needs it. She had a broken nose for that fight. Put her back in there, have her fight versus Shevchenko. That's a good fight. I'll totally tune in for that fucking fight. To give more time for Nunes to train and going into Cyborg, see what happens after that, because Nunes has Shevchenko's number. Yeah. I still believe, remember we spoke about the second fight they had. I had Shevchenko winning that fight. You had Nunes and you were completely right. I still think there should be a third fight. This is not a boring fight. This is not the Wonder Boy versus Tyron Woodley type of thing where you don't care to see a third fight because their styles is these two girls when added
they match up well. They match up well in the sense that they both send up fighters and is who not only threw more punches but who landed more, because nobody's taking nobody down in that freaking fight.
And just to cut this off real fast, I will say the reason why I give so much credit to Amanda Nunes is Rachel Pennington stood her ground round one. Like, really was countering with punches. By the way, Nunes could fucking take a punch because it seems like Raquel hit her with 2 over right hands. I don't know how clear they were, but they were good enough. She looked like it was fucking braced right out of her face. Nunes broke her down.
Yeah.
Like, literally broke her down.
Little by little.
Yeah, and I was saying to myself, this is not necessarily a great performance by Nunes. He didn't really impress me. But no, then you start really digging into a championship level type of fighter. Yeah. She broke her down every single round.
Worked her way from the bottom, which is her legs, and then ended up with the right hand over her face.
I would tell you, I said it before, I don't think Rachel Pennington deserved to be in that octagon with Nunes. I don't think it was fair. And I know it sucks to say because the level of competition when you start going into the fire up, it's a really small circle in the women's MMA. I don't think Rachel Pennington was that person to put up there. I think they should have given Rachel more time. I said Shevchenko should have fought her, and Nunes should have fought Cyborg instead of fighting Rachel Pennington coming up. That's my personal opinion. I guess she had to defend her belt at the end of the day, right? But yeah, man, it's pretty much a wrap. Nunes, phenomenal job, phenomenal champion. Yep. If it's not Shevchenko, they're giving her next Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I agree with you 100%. But anyways, this is the wrap. UFC 224. This was the result. Rocky 2 took 2 shots. I took none. Loser. We'll see you guys next week. There's another fight night. Damian Maia versus Usman. So looking forward to that card. We'll do the predictions next week and shots the week after. Peace.
Peace, guys.